pero los clientes, número uno.
Nuestro dinero cuando pasa una situación como esta, ¿sí? Bienvenidos una vez más a su programa, Hablemos de Real Estate con Carlos Amaya.
Y Juliana Estrada.
Welcome to a new special episode. We have an amazing guest. We're here with Kevin. How do you pronounce your last name?
Just Brenner.
Brenner. Okay, it's super easy. Brenner, and we're going to talk about something that's super special about AI. But before we get into the AI, it's something that a lot of people you might don't know how to use it, and you don't know the application, especially in real estate. So we're going to be like diving into it. But before that, Kevin, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for being here. And let's start off with your story. So where you coming from, real estate, military background, podcast, all of it. And then we're going to end up talking about everything you're doing right now with AI, which is excited.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, Carlos. This is really cool. Honestly, from one podcaster to another, I love the setup. I'm very jealous because all my podcasts, I was doing it for 4+ years, and it's just been remote, and it was cool. But you got the A setup here, so I appreciate that. You're
more than welcome to use it whenever you want.
Yeah, just swing on down. I'm
yeah.
close. I'm close. Yeah. But yeah, a little bit about my background. I served 11 years in the military, and as an officer, and I was believe it or not, I was a meteorologist. So I studied the weather. I went to University of Miami in Florida, and started there trying to be a pilot. And then they said, oh, you know what, we really need weather people. So I went down and became a meteorologist, and I did that. Still in the reserves as we speak, but I was doing that, and it was kind of fun, and I was getting into it. And then it really kind of, I got to a point where I was like, man, this job is so easy. And I don't know, looking back on it now, I know that I just had this entrepreneurial spirit inside of me, but I didn't know at the time. So I was just like, man, I just wasn't fulfilled. Like when you're doing a job and you're just like, you're putting in the paces, you're just like, this is just kind of boring. So I was doing it, and I was good at it. Don't get me wrong. I was good. I knew I was good. And they, wanted to retain me and all of these things, but it got to a point where I knew that there was something else for me, and I just didn't know what it was. So I was, believe it or not, I was playing volleyball with a friend of mine. And for any of your listeners out there who know kind of how the military works, your pay is based on your rank. So at the time, I was a captain. I had just pinned on captain in the Air Force, and my buddy was in the Army, and he was a first lieutenant. So I was like one step ahead of him. Okay. And we're playing volleyball, and I remember like it was yesterday. It was April. It was in Savannah, Georgia. We're playing some beach volleyball, and he comes. He's got a cooler, and we're sitting there having a beer, hanging out. And he's like, "Hey man, I'm so excited! I just bought my 7th house." And my mind was just like, "That's not possible," because I pay rent.
More money.
I'm making more money than you. Number one, I pay rent. I have a car payment. I have a motorcycle payment. Like, I know how much money you make, and I know that's not possible. And then he was laughing, and he started telling me about, oh, no, it's good debt. It's good debt because I have tenants paying this. And my mind was just like melting. I was like, you can't do that. I make more money than you. I just kept going back to that.
I love the transition. Playing volleyball, having a beer, and you're like, what?
Yeah. So then he reaches in, and he's got one of those trucks, like what are those, like Super Duties with look like the double wheels in the back. Obviously I'm not a truck guy, but he's got this huge truck, and he reaches in the back, and he's rooting around back there, and he throws me this beat up copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he goes, read this. The cover was torn off this thing. He throws it at me. He said, read this. And I was like, all right. So that was on a Thursday. By Monday, that book was read. And I was like, hey man, we went out, go get lunch. It's like, we're going to go get lunch. We're going to talk about this. And then he invites his realtor, who's also a West Point graduate. He invites some other investors that he knows that were also military and all of this stuff. And, and the big thing that they keyed me in on was, as a military, as an active duty military member, I had access to the VA home loan, which I kind of sort of knew, but I was like, before I was kicking around like buying a condo, I was like, what am I going to rent when I can buy? And I kind of had those ideas, but like I didn't really have those ideas. And then the realtor.
Do you remember that they mentioned in the introduction, you got the VA loan 100%. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I knew I had this benefit, but I just didn't really know how to use it, right? So the realtor tells me, he's like, well, don't buy a condo, because with the VA home loan, you can buy up to 4 units with one loan. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, how about like a 4-unit apartment building? And I was like, whoa, you can do that? And that was like my ultimate light bulb moment. Like, I remember like it was yesterday, I was like, and like that just like hit me like with like a ton of bricks. And I went through, and then I just went on this tear. I was listening to every podcast, reading every book on real estate, just going through the self-education phase. And within 3 months of that initial meeting, I had closed on my first quadplex. And it was just like boom, I was like in it. And I closed on the quadplex from day one. This thing cash flowed $450 a month.
What year was that?
This was 2018, yeah. August of 2018. Yeah. So I'm close. Everything. I'm struggling through this, right? Because I don't really know what's what. But I go and I get it closed, and then not 2 weeks later, after I close this thing, obviously it's a VA home loan. I got to move into one of the units. So not 2 weeks later, after I close in on this, the Air Force drops orders on me. So that means I got to move. So they say, oh, well, where am I moving? I'm moving to the mothership, the Pentagon. So I'm going to Washington, D.C., going to the Pentagon, can't live in the place.
Okay.
So now I'm faced with this challenge of all these units need to be renovated. Like I had bought it from this lady, sweet old lady, God rest her soul. She's passed away now, but she, Miss Anderson, and she didn't have the internet. When I bought it from her, she was 85 years old or something like that. She'd been a landlord in Harlem like her whole life, moved down to Savannah, was a landlord for 30 years, owned that building, had the advertisements and the penny savers, the thing in the grocery store, the little newspaper, like just no clue. Like she was under renting these places by like $300-$400 a month.
Under renting, under taking care of the property.
No, not
lack of maintenance.
Lack of maintenance. The tenants were the tenants were really bad. They were taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
A lot of people were taking advantage of her. And I said, okay, listen, here's the deal. I got to move to DC. How about you pay me $1,000 a month to stay in your unit? And then she's like, sure, that's fine. I don't want to leave anyway. And then I went and got all the bad tenants out of there. I then remotely rehabbed all the properties except Miss Anderson's. And then when she passed on, I did hers as well. But we turned that entire building around. And within a year, that thing was cash flowing like $2,000 a month.
Man.
But kind of backtracking that, while I was in DC, I was like, I had the bug, right? I was like, okay, well, let's do this again. So 6 months after I closed that first one, boom, close another one in the same neighborhood, another quadplex. And of course I get this thing under contract and I have zero money. Like I have no money. I get it under contract and my realtor's like, okay, you need the down payment in 30 days. I was like, I don't have any money. And,
let me go read the book again.
Yeah. So I went back to the book and I learned about how to raise capital.
Yeah.
So I'm calling my dad and I'm calling my brother and I said, look, I got this opportunity. I bought this one. I started seeing, at that point, I started seeing the cash flow. I saw the potential, the equity growth, the cash flow. Like, this is a great investment. And my brother was like all in until like 2 weeks before he couldn't make a decision. He's like, oh, I don't know. I don't really know. I got a lot going on in my life. And I was like, dude, all right, you're done. So then I just started texting. I looked at my phone and I said, I got to do something. So I just started texting my friends. And I reached out to my college roommate who just got $100,000 bonus. I didn't know this at the time. He got $100,000 bonus. He's an executive at Paramount now. So he lives in LA and he's an executive there now. But at the time he was working his way up the ladder and he was like, hey dude, I just got this $100,000 bonus. My dad owned real estate. I saw you were posting about this on Facebook. Like, do you have room in that for me? And I was like, absolutely. Definitely.
Just because it's you.
Just because it's you. Not because of anyone else, and not because I don't have any money. So I pitched the deal. We talked about it, and we ended up making a partnership. So he came in with the 25% down payment or whatever we needed. It was like $83,000 or something. He came in with the money. And then I paid for the renovations, which I ended up using the cash flow from my other building, and I leveraged some other assets to get some construction loans and stuff. So we renovated that building. Long story short, that building, we bought it for, well, the first one I bought for $350 from little Miss Anderson. Bought that for $350. I sold that in January of last year for $815.
Wow.
And this one, we still have it in our portfolio. I bought this one for $318, put about $60K into it to renovate it, and now it's probably worth about $950. So we're sitting on a ton of equity there.
Definitely.
And then from there, I was just off to the races with short-term rentals and other assets and all kinds of stuff. And that's really where I started getting involved in the active duty passive income community around that time as well.
Definitely. Let me go back to that one. So, did you make your friend, was he like a private money
No,
or you make him like an equity investor?
Yeah, so we did an equity partnership.
Okay, equity partnership. Okay.
Yeah, and I get that question a lot. Like, oh, why would you do private money lender and all this?
That was the second deal, and you needed it at that time. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, and I had heard about that and all of that, and kudos to him. He came to it. He's like, hey man, if I want to do this, we're going to do it. And so he came in with an equity partnership, and I think he was. It's like, I think right now it splits. It was 60-40 or something. So he put the money up, he got 40% and I did the rest of it. And so I own 60%.
You guys are killing it right now. I mean, it's an amazing number. So.
Yeah. So we're doing okay, but it's just like that, forming that partnership and having those conversations. And then of course, when you do this, make sure that you do it, everything legal. I mean, we hired the lawyers, we did this, we had his attorney, I had my attorney, we're drawing up the paperwork, the operating agreement, the LLC. We're doing everything by the book because I had read at that time in my books and listened to in my podcast, if you don't do this the right way and you're getting in business with your friends, it can be very difficult. You got to keep business, you got to keep friendships.
I see that happen in the first hand. I worked for a foreclosure defense attorney for like 10 years. And I saw families dividing houses like right in the middle, like with the tape and everything, like best friends, even like obviously boyfriend, girlfriend that things did not work out and everything went south because of that, because they have the proper structure. So you have those two great deals and so you went so fast, but so you did like short-term rentals. So how was the evolution into like what you do right now in terms of real estate? And then we go and then we look into the AI piece.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting journey. So when I got up,
that's what I want to hear about it.
Yeah. So when I got up to DC, I was like, okay, well, I got these apartment buildings in Savannah. Things are going great. Like, how can I do this in DC? And I was like, maybe I can, can I use my VA loan here? Nothing made sense in DC. Just the market, numbers did not make any sense at all. So I started doing short-term rental arbitrages.
Okay.
So I had, I was kind of sitting on the sidelines up in DC for like a year and a half, trying to figure out what to do. And I always wanted to be in short-term rentals. I'd stayed in Airbnbs and stuff. And I was like, man, these must make a lot of money. How do I do this? And I was thinking about it, but I had no idea how to actually do it. So I went and paid for a course. I took a course and I went and did it, I believe that whatever your listeners or whatever you're trying to learn, like you guys are watching this podcast right now, you're listening to this podcast right now, you can get as educated as you want to be on any subject on earth. If you want to be truly successful, it's not about how educated you are. It's about speed of implementation. How quickly can you implement what you learned and turn it into something that puts money in your pocket? That's the question you need to ask yourself. So like for me in this short-term rental thing, I took this course. The course was like very basic and like it wasn't like super, I can't remember what I spent on it. Maybe I spent $400, $600, something like that. Whatever. I just bought it on the internet, right? Bought this course, took it, and within 12 weeks, I had 2 short-term rentals up and running.
Wow.
And I just went for it. And then I started building more and all of that. But the arbitrages were really great for the DC area. And I mean, I think I just shut them down actually last month, the last one. And they probably made us a couple $100,000 in a few years. And I mean, my wife and I would fly to Europe and we'd do this and we do that. And it was just, we treated the arbitrage as kind of just like our vacation fund. It was just like something to do. And I'm doing this. Still active duty in the Air Force. I'm still working with and for ADPI in some capacity. And I got the real estate going. So like, I'm still kind of dividing my time in this part of it.
And I love that you mentioned that because a lot of people get into the analysis paralysis. They've been listening to podcasts. People have been listening to podcasts since Bigger Pockets started and they haven't invested in real estate. But I noticed the other side of the coin, like cases like you, someone that just take the information and then even though they're not an expert right now, they just go prepare themselves well and they get up and running and they make it happen. So why did you shut down the Airbnbs?
Yeah, honestly, man, they weren't. So government intervention was one of them. One of them, the government came down and said, hey, listen, you can't do this anymore. They passed a rule and, whatever, that 6 months ago. And I got a letter saying like, they like served me or they served my tenants with paperwork and they were like, hey, you can't run this anymore. You got to give this to the owner. So they messaged me and they were like, it was just one of those things. Hey, you gotta shut this thing down. So I ended up actually selling all the furniture and the business operations itself, because I had a pretty good operation. I had hundreds of 5-star reviews. It was like really good. I sold it to the owners of the home, because remember, in arbitrage, I'm renting, right, and then I'm subletting. So I sold all the furniture and everything, and maybe I sold it for like 10 grand or something like that. But I was out of that one.
Sure.
And then this one I just shut down. I ended up deciding to shut it down because we moved to Charlotte. So I moved out of the DC area in the last 6 months. We moved out. We actually moved to Europe for a bit, and then we came here, down here in the Southeast, and I was just disconnected from it. And you look at the numbers, and maybe it'll make $1,000 a month. It wasn't enough for the headache, and I wanted to move on to something new. Which my wife and I started flipping houses and doing some other cool things down here.
Cool.
And we just wanted to keep our business kind of closer.
Totally. So why did you decide to move to Charlotte? And how did you guys do with the fix and flip business?
Oh yeah. Well, so after DC, in late 2021 is when I decided to get out of active duty. And
the reason why you wanted?
It was just, they wanted to sign me up for another contract. They wanted to move me again. I just got married the year before. I didn't want to take my wife on this journey of like traveling the world, AKA getting stuck in some farm town in the middle of nowhere for 4 years and then moving again. And it's just really hard, the military lifestyle. So I was kind of over it at that point. And, I had some other things going on. So we moved out of there, and then we decided to go to Europe. So we went to Portugal.
Nice.
And we just packed up all our stuff. And this was like last year now, pretty much a year ago. We moved out of DC officially, packed our stuff up, went to Portugal for 3 months, and said, hey, we're just going to live. It's going to live. And still kind of working remotely, had some projects going, just figuring it out. Super, super fun. We had a blast. We traveled through Spain and Portugal, and we went to Paris, and we went to like all of these places that we had an absolutely wonderful time. And then we decided and came back. And before then, to be fair, we had done some research and known that like Charlotte was going to be our next city.
Before why you moved to Charlotte, I love that you mentioned that, because a lot of people thinking about, okay, I want to start traveling when I'm retired. And you see all those memes about that, like the old couple invented and they don't sleep over there because they're tired. Obviously, when you are like up in age, you might have the means, but that's not, at that time, you don't have the energy. In your case, you say, no, forget it. I'm going to just go 3 months, and then you just travel, and then and just figure out what to do. And I have a couple of GoPros that went through a similar situation. I don't know if you know Rolando Archila. It's an amazing GoPro as well. And then he did the same. And he said that his story really quick. He said that he was a W-2 employee, really well. He well paid, and he got like a 50% raise. And at that time, he was like, oh my God. It was like an aha moment, like they want to just like in golden handcuffs. And then he quit when he got the raise, which is weird. And then he decided to go travel like a couple months like you, and then he had a great idea and implemented, and now he's killing it. So in your case, so you said, I'm going to travel. You made some research before you left, and then you decided, you know what, Charlotte might be the place.
Yeah. And we had traveled a bunch of cities in the Southeast. We knew we wanted the Southeast, and family and climate, and like we chose Charlotte for the lifestyle. Like, this is the people that we like down here. It's DC in the Northeast. It's kind of like very like, we were kind of over that, kind of hustle and bustle, and we wanted to slow down a bit. And we had lived in Savannah before this, so we were familiar. So we chose down here, and the idea was like, hey, we're going to start flipping houses down here. Okay. And so my wife comes from a background of designing hotels, so nice. Commercial hotels. So she's got the design and project management, the interior design and project management, architecture background. She's got a master's degree in all of this stuff. She's absolutely brilliant. And I was kind of on the acquisition side, and I said, hey, let's go and make this happen. So we come to Charlotte. We get a flip. We're just about to finish this first flip. It's going really well.
How do you find the property? How soon did you because when you move to a city, move, it's a transition period. You're still living back, and you figure out the area. You decided to do that and do fix and flip right away, which is not usual. It was
quite. If there's one thing you'll learn about me, it's about speed of implementation. So I think we got like set up here.
I have to change the name of the podcast instead of AI. We got to get to the AI.
Yeah. So we got here set up in July, early. We moved into our apartment in August, and we
Yeah.
had closed on the flip September 13th.
Wow.
So we really weren't messing around.
How do you find the property?
Wholesalers.
Okay.
We said wholesalers and everything, and we found it, and I had already set up, some marketing. I come from a very marketing background, and everything. Everything I've done in the high ticket course sales arena and stuff has really helped me create, and that helped me with what we're going to talk about next with AI, but understanding sales funnels and leads and how to communicate with them and close them. So we had independent leads come into the system. I talk to them, we have conversations, I make offers, and it just became a function of, and this goes honestly for any real estate asset you want to purchase.
Yeah.
It's getting real estate is a function of mathematics. If you are not making 2 to 4 offers a week, then you're not going to get a deal. So if you think about that, and then you go and say, okay, I need to make 2 to 4 offers a week. What does that look like? Then just reverse engineer it. So you probably need to be underwriting 5 to 7 deals a week. Okay, what does that look like? Then I probably need to be, in my deal funnel, I probably need to have, maybe 10 deals a week in my deal funnel, so I can underwrite 5 to 7 of them, so I can make offers on 2 to 4 of them. And I think because we were tracking this, to not go too much into GoBundance, but talking like in our GoPod, and we do the L10 tracking and all of that. So we were tracking, and that was one of my scorecard items, was how many offers am I putting in a week? And I did it consistently for like 4 weeks. Boom, had one under contract.
Nice. We jump onto the fix and flip. I want to talk about that, but I think we missed the educational part. So the podcast and the funnel and the high ticket course. Let's just go back a little bit because I think that's amazing what you guys are doing. You guys impacted all the community, and it's a great operation you guys have there.
Yeah, active duty passive income. So I rewinding, back to when I got that first quadplex. I had got like a LinkedIn connection. I got like one of those messages like, hey, you should check out this community, active duty passive income, a small Facebook group. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I'm military, I'm doing real estate. Like, this is like super cool.
It has a cool name.
Yeah. So it was like and there was maybe 1,000 members in the Facebook group, maybe. And I was Markian, the CEO. He's Ukrainian, and he's graduated the Naval Academy, so he was a Marine. Still active duty at the time, was closing on real estate, and he was kind of the founder of everything. He had posted in the Facebook group. He's like, hey, we're going to do this 30-day live video challenge. Remember when those were like popular in Facebook and stuff? And like Facebook Live had just come out, and they were, it was the thing. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll do this. So my wife and I went on vacation to Puerto Rico, and it was our first trip away as a couple, right? And I'm sitting here, I got my camera, and I'm doing these live videos. And she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I said I was going to do these 30-day live videos every single day, put some content out there, and like just talk about real estate. So I did. Yeah. Well, fast forward, I get back from Puerto Rico, finish the 30-day live series. Somehow Markian finds my phone number, calls me. I was out to lunch with my friends. He calls me. He's like, dude, it's like, I know you don't know me. No one has ever actually done any of the live videos. He's like, you're the only person.
Yeah. I really love yours. Thank you. Besides that, you're the only one.
Yeah. And he's like, do you want to come and help me build this? And I was like, okay, cool. Here are my conditions. Number 1, I got to run the podcast. And number 2, I had some other conditions in there built into it. Like,
let's go back there. What do you have? What did you say that you want to run the podcast? You never run a podcast before.
No, I haven't run a podcast before. But at the time, I was listening to Brandon Turner and studying Brandon Turner, and I figured out in very short order that Brandon Turner did not own Bigger Pockets.
Yeah,
I figured out that Brandon Turner was just a very good orator, and he was very good at telling stories, and he was great at building an audience, and that's what he did. And the podcast was his way of building that audience. And from there, that was the thing that set him off, help him. He wrote books and sold books and all this stuff. And I talked about with him. I had lunch with Brandon like a month ago in Denver. We were had some time together, and I was just talking about this and how he's influenced me. But I was listening to his podcast, and I said, how can I be more like this guy? And that's like another lesson for like people out there listening or watching this right now. I forget who told me this, but someone told me along the way, maybe it was my dad, maybe it was someone else, but they said, you are not special. Stop thinking that your idea is special and it has to change the world and all of this stuff. Just copy what everyone else is doing. Like, just get off your butt, start ugly, copy what someone else is doing, and optimize from there. Don't get into the analysis paralysis. Like, I'm waiting for my brilliant idea, my Edison idea and all of this stuff, because you just got to do. iteration and doing, and that's going to be the thing that gets you the experience. And then, believe it or not, the more you iterate, that's actually going to open up more opportunities for you, things that you couldn't even conceive when you first had the idea to start doing something. So yeah, it's really powerful.
There's a book that talk about that. It's called, I think I'm gonna chop the name. It's gonna as good as I'm sorry, be as good that they can ignore you. Or when you mentioned that, they mentioned that, I forgot the title, but they mentioned that people like usually just kids, oh, what is my dream? What is the one I do? So I don't care about that.
So much pressure.
Just do something so that many times and just become that good that people can ignore you. Be good. I'm gonna get the book.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, that's the idea is be so good at something that people
can't ignore you.
Yeah, they can't ignore you. And that's how you'll kind of become known for that thing. And hopefully that's something that you like doing. And guess what? If it doesn't, that's okay, because you can get tired of something and parlay that into another opportunity into something that you're excited about.
So you say, okay, my condition is that I'll run the podcast because I'll get the influence by.
I wanted to build an audience, build influence, and all that stuff.
And what was their condition?
I wanted to run the mastermind. I wanted to start and launch a mastermind and run that, so I can educate others and make a bigger
And
impact.
what did you get the idea of the mastermind? Were you part of the mastermind already?
No, I think I had gotten the idea because they were selling at the time. The company was this is some throwback stuff. The company was selling, I think it was like a commercial real estate program.
Okay.
But very, very basic. Like, this is years and years ago. And it was kind of like, that was kind of what they were selling. And I was like, well, I don't really have commercial real estate experience, but I can show someone how to buy a quadplex, and I could show someone, like, let's build one of these for the residential side or for the single family folks or whatever. So that was kind of what we did. And I think at the time I had devised the name Operation Atom is what I call it, like ATOM, Action Takers Only Mastermind. And that it doesn't exist anymore because it's parlayed into a much bigger, we call it, like, we have a residential mastermind and a whole nother community and all of that stuff. But like, that was like the kind of genesis of our first ever residential kind of program, because part of ADPI, really like when Markion started ADPI, it hadn't, educating people wasn't even part of it. Really, it was about your active duty. How can we connect you with a turnkey real estate provider so that you can start investing in real estate assets? Like, you're active duty, you're too busy. How can we do this? And what it morphed into was, you're active duty military veteran. How can we teach you the skills you need to have to become financially free through real estate? So we became this education company, and that's where we thrive now.
Nice. So 1,000 members in the Facebook group. You wanted to run the podcast. How did that went? How did it go? I mean, I have an idea, but
well, it started off a little rocky because I didn't know how to run a podcast. I had no clue what I was doing. I remember those first couple episodes. I mean, it would take us like 3-4 hours to edit the episodes because we're editing them ourselves. We had no clue, that you can, there's software out there and there's people out there and all this stuff. So, but it got to a point where it was really, really smooth. And I remember, because I was still active duty, right? Yeah. So I would spend all my Saturdays, I'm talking like from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on back-to-back interviews. I do 5-6 interviews a day, just crank through them. And they're hour-long interviews. And we were doing them remotely. And then that would be good for the month. So my goal was like, let me get like a month to a month and a half ahead. And we'd put them into editing and we'd run through it. And we would just, post these episodes. And I had a lot of fun doing it. And we got to a point where we started growing the show and getting influence. Then we became like a top 1.5% podcast or whatever on whatever it is, Spotify or whichever platform, Apple, it was Apple Podcasts. Yeah. And then, we start getting, more influential people on the show, and we got to interview Grant Cardone, we got to interview Brandon Turner, and we got to interview, Rod Cleef and just some other really cool people who are doing some awesome things. And of course they want to come on the show because they're helping educate the military community. It's kind of like their give back. So it was a good synergy there. And, we did some really awesome interviews, and I kind of, I was telling you before recording, I kind of took a step back from that role, and we're going to relaunch the podcast this year, and we're going to, instead of being like an audio podcast, we're going to do all video, like you're doing on YouTube, and kind of do like an in-studio model and all of this stuff. We built a studio down in Florida and all of this. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be hosting much, or I might be like a remote part of it or be somewhat on it, but it was just a lot of fun to talk to people who are doing really cool things.
Quick question. Talking about the Brandon Turner role in Bigger Pockets, he was an employee. And at one point, when George Dorcan sold Bigger Pockets, one of the regrets is that he had like a small equity in the sell. In your case, did you become a partner? You were compensated because of the talent you were provided. How was the structure that you came out with it? If you can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can talk about it. Yeah, I'm still an employee.
Okay, an employee.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I'm an employee, and really my role in the company has transitioned to a space of, I went from being a podcast host to running the single family mastermind, and I created a lot of the content for that. So I was creating a lot of the educational content, and then from there I went into a marketing role, and I became the director of marketing, and then from there I went to the director of sales, and now I'm the vice president of sales, and we have a full sales floor, a sales team, and I'm running them, and we're selling high ticket programs. And last year at this time, when I became the director of sales, our ticket price was about $2,500 for the course. Now we're selling it for $10,000.
Oh, nice.
So, and we got professionals in there, professional sales folks in there who are really doing awesome things because they're professional sales folks and that's what they do. So yeah, no, I'm still kind of doing that and growing that side of it. And, and this is just advice for anyone. I'm a believer in that, stick with something, not for the money, not for the, I'll be the first to admit I'm not making tons of money from that role, and that's okay. I stick with it because of the people that are around me.
And you're having fun.
I'm having fun, but also I'm still learning and honing skills. If you want to be successful at something, it's about what can you do to learn and hone your skills and practice and all of this stuff. And to have to build and design sales funnels, I never realized at the time how valuable that is until I see and talk to other small business owners and they just have no clue how to do this. And they're, we'll talk about more about that later, but it's just really cool.
And that's great because a lot of people get into real estate. And we all of us, I mean, I was talking like maybe the new generation, like my daughter, that she wants to be a real estate investor. Like a lot of us, we never thought we were going to be like in real estate, right? That is like our BC or deep path in our life. But whatever we were before, our previous life, all of that we brought to the real estate industry, and then we can just leverage that. In your case, the funnels and everything else. In my case, everything that I was doing before in terms of sales. So you took all of that. You implemented the funnel. You do the 2 offers per week in order to get the fix and flip. You got it. How much you pay for it? How much you put it? And how much you're gonna sell it for it?
Yeah. So we paid $412 for this flip.
Okay. What is it?
In South Charlotte.
Okay.
So it's a 4-bed, 3-bath, 1972. Yeah, 1972 split level, and it needed a lot of work. I mean, it hasn't been touched in 21 years. And we came in and we blew out all the walls. We opened up the kitchen. We, I don't have photos yet, but it's going to be nice. It's got a huge back deck that we're going to work with and just, kind of make that the way it is. But yeah, I mean, we bought it for $412. We're probably going to put, I would like to put less into it, but it's probably, if I'm a realist, it's probably going to be about $150 that we're going to put into it.
50?
No, $150.
$150. Okay.
And we should sell it for anywhere between $680 and $700.
Okay. So how did you find the contractor that was going to be working in the place?
Yeah.
One of the biggest issues people doing fix and flip is, one, buy the property right. A lot of people overpay for property. I was looking some research, and most of the wholesalers are selling to first time flippers, fix and flippers, and they have the desire and the rush to buy, and then they're buying it high, and then that's what they said. You know what? This doesn't work. Which really it does if you buy it right. So buy right and get the right people to work on it. The contractor, the GC, and everything else. How did you find those?
Yeah, so it was through referrals, and it was honestly the guy I ended up choosing. I had just met when we were in Portugal and we were doing research on like, hey, what do we want to do? The original plan was we're going to buy property and then we're going to build ADUs in the back of the property, and then we're either going to rent them out or we're going to add value, and just that was going to be part of the flip. So I had reached out to some contractors who were building ADUs on properties.
Sure.
I did some research and I found some contractors, and I was just having Zoom calls with them. Well, this guy, I met with them, and then, well, we came to Charlotte and we we were looking at houses and we realized, oh, well, that plan's not going to work because the amount to build the ADU doesn't add that much value to it. It's just not, it's not commensurate. Right. So we decided, okay, let's just flip the houses and start there. So, I was able to meet and build a relationship and say, hey, this is exactly what we're looking for. And, he's got a ton of experience and he's been doing this for 30 years and he had the crews and the subs and really kind of had those relationships. And, I was just able to make something work. And honestly, when, with this particular project, we came, a big lesson learned here is if you are flipping houses, this is funny. We had a lot of people, they're like, your first flip is going to be a 6-figure flip. And we're like, yeah. So like, is that a big deal? And they're like, yeah, it's a huge deal. What are you doing? You should only spend like $20,000 on the rehab and buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Gastonia. And I was like, that's not what we do. We're building homes for families and we're going to, we're like, that's not our buy box. And we were smart on that. So a couple things, when you're doing 6-figure flips, you get better contractors because those GCs it's a bigger project. They want more of that. And that's cool. Plus, you're able to be more discerning. One lesson we did learn in this process is my wife did this amazing full design of the entire house and like laid it all out. This is exactly what I want here, and shared it with the contractors prior to bidding. And what we learned is that just skyrocketed the bids. And then what we ended up doing was going and looking, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's look at the comps. What do the comps have? The comps have LVP throughout. The comps have this, the comps have that. So we ended up working the price back down to reality, which is good. And that's what we got the hard money loan for and all of that stuff. So we, but then of course there's some change orders and things that we're learning along the way here. And, we're still going to be okay on this project and it's always a learning process. But I think not giving the contractors, the GCs, like your full design concept ahead of time and scaring them to a point where it's like, oh, well, this, we got to build in more margin in our bids and all of that. So yeah, we were able to make something, really cool. And I'm proud of the house. I'm excited. It should be listed in the next couple of weeks here. Nice. Beautiful.
Harmony lender. Was your first hard money deal, or you have done a hard money before?
This is my first hard money deal. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I had done some private money deals for funding some of the short-term rentals and some other stuff, but this is the first hard money deal. And, I got some referrals from some lenders, some local lenders here, and I met and I shook hands and I said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And then with hard money, there's so much competition out there.
Yeah.
So they all want to beat each other. And I would just, you just stick to your numbers and say like, hey, listen, like this guy's got, you have 2 points. This guy's got 1.5 points. Can you match that? And they're like, oh yeah. Okay. Let me see what I can do.
Let me talk.
Let me talk. And then they come back on with 1.5 points and, and all of this. And, so it's just a straight business
that's
deal.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. So moving forward, are you going to continue doing fix and flip? You like the price point, or you want to move to different neighborhood? What are your plan in terms of that?
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have to wait. We're actively looking for other properties right now, and
same area,
yeah, and we're looking and stuff. But things are a little bit overpriced right now, and it's becoming more of a buyer's market, which is good. With the season and everything like that. I have leads coming into the system, and it's working well. But I think for us, we want to see like how easy is this going to be to sell. Like what we created, is this going to fly off the shelves? If it does, boom, that's going to be the proof of concept that we need to keep this train going. Otherwise, maybe we want to pivot. But kind of transitioning more into what we were talking about with AI earlier in the show was where I really learned and honed my AI skills was working with ADPI, number one, because I kind of discovered, hey, I can build these bots and we can optimize our funnels and lead flows. But for the flip business, that's where I started building the AI bots. And that's what was talking to the leads and booking appointments on my calendar to go walk these houses. Yeah. So that's where that kind of came into.
Let's go back to the people have no idea what you're talking about. So for a lot of people, like AI is Alexa, Siri, and then ChatGPT, which is helping do the structure of the emails, text, and reply. And for a lot of people, you look for like recipes for cook on Christmas, and they even talk to them. My wife talked to the ChatGPT all the time. So in your case, you say, okay, that's great. How can I implement that for the educational platform? And you start building the bots. What is that? And how do you start applying that? And then what was the time you said, man, this is going to
Yeah.
be working real estate, and why not that many other people are doing it right now?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I had stumbled upon a developer who was kind of creating bots, and I started following a
For
story.
people who have no idea what a bot is.
So a chatbot. So think about like when you make an appointment at the dentist, right? You make an appointment at the dentist, and then you get that text message like, "Hey, just a reminder, you have your dental appointment at 2:45 p.m. on Wednesday. Reply Y to respond now."
And you think it's Maria, and the dentist office sending that, but reality it's a system.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's just an automation. That's just a regular text message automation. It's not smart. Doesn't use AI or anything. But that's kind of the genesis, right?
Okay.
So what artificial intelligence does is it helps make that conversation more human.
Okay.
So I started following these developers and kind of just educating myself on how this would work. And honestly, like personally, I just nerded out over it. I was like, man, this is cool. We can bring more people in. And I was thinking about it from a sales standpoint, because in the selling world, and this, you have setters and you have closers. And your setter is the person who, reaches out to the lead. They do a lot of outbound lead stuff. They might reach out to inbound leads and have conversations, do a little pre-qualifying, but their whole job is to set an appointment on the closer's calendar, where the closer then closes the deal. Like that's just, sales 101. So what we were doing at ADPI, we were paying our setters $2-3 grand a month. They're human beings.
That's what is expensive sometimes, because they have to. Yes.
Yeah, they're human beings. Yeah, you're paying them a base salary, and they're getting commission on the sets that they were setting. And I was like, man, I think there's a better way to do this. So I started building bots, and I was like, okay, well, let me just tool around with this. Well, long story short, and over enough iteration, I got our bot to outperform our human setters.
And bots is a program. How do you build those?
Yeah, so it's built off some there's some backend software, and it's a little technical, so I'll spare you the details. But there's some backend software that it's built off of, and it talks to our CRM, client relationship manager, right? It talks to some other software, and eventually it gets the contact details from the client relationship manager, and then that's how it knows who it's talking to. And then I'm able to code in the bot different objectives. So, and to say, like, for example, let's say it's a real estate deal, right?
Yes.
So let's say for my flipping business, I'm buying a lead from Property Leads or any other pay-per lead service, Leadzillow, Property Leads, Motivated Sellers, or someone just fills out a form on my website. They're like, I need to sell my house, right? So they need to sell their house. So they fill out their information, and then boom, the chatbot starts talking to them. It's like, hey, Joe, I saw that you need to sell your house, and it'll start asking them qualifying questions. And it'll say, is it okay if I can ask you a few questions about your home? Perfect. Yeah, sure. The guy responds via text. Sure. So it starts asking questions about, hey, can you tell me about the square footage of your home, the bedrooms, bathrooms? And then I have it go through the standard objection, handling process that a setter would do, right? And say, hey, why do you need to sell it right now? What's motivating this? But it's all very conversational. And the AI, I've trained you. AI is as smart as you will train it. All it does is it's pulling information from the internet and data, tons and tons and tons of data, and it's training and learning and all of that stuff. But it's only going to do what you tell it to do. It's still a computer.
Sure.
So I simply go and said, okay, well, once you get this information, this objective, move on to the next one and ask them why they're trying to sell right now. And I tell it to be friendly and be educated and be professional, and it crafts the messages and just sends them off. The result is a very human-like conversation, pretty much imperceptible to not talking to a human. It's all done via text.
Sure.
Right. And what happens is then they're able, I have it hooked up I code it to hook up to my calendar. So when the person's done and all this, it says, the bot will be like, thank you so much for sharing this information. The next step for you to get a cash offer on this is to schedule an in-person property assessment. Would you be interested in that? We have an opening on Thursday at 2 p.m. Oh, can we do Friday? Okay, yeah. It goes and looks at my calendar, finds slots, sends it to them. They confirm, boom, that it gets booked on my calendar, gets booked on their calendar. And then I have a series of different automations and stuff that go in that, make sure they confirm the appointment and all of that. But the end of the day, the result is a lead comes in, instant follow-up. and some of these leads, Carla, I mean, they're happening at 3:15 in the morning. The last one
Mm.
happened at 3:15 in the morning. I certainly wasn't up. The bot closed them, set an appointment for 2 days later, went to the appointment, made an offer.
Wow. And you realized that when you did that for the educational company, the bot outperformed the
Yeah, when I
salespeople.
saw the bots outperforming the setters,
Yeah.
we ended up letting go our setter. But it was just a business decision, right? We let go our setter, and we ended up going and saying, hey, listen, we're just going to implement these bots, and it's having amazing conversations with folks. It's really getting to know them. It's following up. The awesome thing is it does follow up automatic. So anyone who's in sales knows that 90% of your sales comes from follow up.
Yep.
Well, imagine having something, following up your pipeline all the time, working for you, just like a virtual assistant would, but
more
efficient, able to have 1,800 conversations at the same time.
Wow.
And constantly knowing what they talked about last in the conversation and all of this. Like, no human can do that, and it's working out really well. So to answer your question earlier about like how I decided to like figure this out, like, hey, other people I'm using it in real estate. Maybe this could be a thing for other people. We were at the conference in Scottsdale, and Jeff Woods was speaking, and he has written, it's called AI Driven Leaders, I think, right? And he was talking about this, and I was like, man, yeah, I've been tooling around with this for a better part of a year now, but I never thought about making it a business. So I started going into it, and then I attended a Tony Robbins event recently. And during the event, I made the thing. I was like, listen, this is going to be my future. And I built the company, bought the domain, built the website in a day and a half, because I've built a lot of websites in my day. So I was able to just go crank out a website, put a demo together, and now it's getting like a ton of traction.
Wow.
And so able to go, again, speed of implementation. If you have an idea, just take it to market. Let the market tell you your idea sucks. Get out of your own head. If you're in your head, you're dead. Get out of your own head and just, let the market decide. And that's what I did.
Okay. So you realize that it works for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How do you package it, and how you offer it, and how can other people benefit from that?
Yeah. So the product is called Property Bots. So propertybots.ai, and I'm sure there'll be links and all of that stuff.
Sure.
But the really how it works is what we do is we build real estate bots and AI driven bots for real estate professionals. So if you're an investor, you're a flipper like me, maybe you're a wholesaler, and anything that's a high transaction kind of a service. If you're a real estate broker and you have a brokerage, and maybe you want some bots to go and help your agents communicate with more leads, or you want to offer it as an additional service to retain more agents, or do whatever, do whatever you want to do. We serve you. If you're a commercial property manager, I love this. For commercial property managers, think about having a bot handle your maintenance request and actually book, like I live in an apartment building, and I put in I fill out the maintenance request form. It's like a form from 1995, and I fill it out on my phone.
Yeah.
And sometimes the guy shows up 2 days later.
Sure.
I have no idea when they're going to show up to fix whatever's wrong. But imagine having something go and conversationally book, or conversationally talk with prospective tenants and bring them and set them on property tours and stuff like that. The application uses are just incredible. And of course, home service companies, we work with them too. But the idea is creating not only text message bots, but we're also building voice bots as well. So if you say you're a wholesaler, right, and you're sending out direct mail. Well, the direct mail could have a phone number on it, right? Well, they call that. I built a voice bot that sounds very human, very low latency, very like you can't even tell it's not a human. And it does the same thing. It qualifies the lead, and it gets to know, hey, why are you calling this number? Da 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 da. Oh, I got a mailer and I want to sell my house. Okay, great. Is it okay if I ask you a couple questions? It goes through the same objection handling. And then its sole goal is to book an appointment with a closer or an in-person property assessment or whatever you're selling, right? It books that for you, and then you're good to go. So really what we've seen is that when you use property bots, you can get up to 30% more appointments on your closers' calendars. So let's, if we're running numbers, I'm a numbers guy, you're a numbers guy. I'm sure your listeners are numbers guys and girls too, right? So let's say that you are, I don't know, you got 40 leads coming into your business a month. And I'm just pulling these numbers out of thin air. 40 leads a month. and let's say that right now you're closing 10% of them. So you're closing 4 leads a month and you're a wholesaler. Each one of these leads, these closed leads might be worth, I don't know, in wholesaling, lead could be worth like 20 grand, easily, sometimes 25,000. So it's valuable to you. You close 4 of those a month. That's pretty good. What if you can get 30% more appointments from those leads? So instead of, maybe you're only booking 20 appointments a month, what if you were able to book 28 appointments a month, 8 extra appointments, and you're closing at, say, whatever, 10% or 20%. That's almost an extra close a month. So that's an extra $25,000 a month in your pocket from doing absolutely nothing, because the robot is doing everything for you. Not to mention that if you do have human setters right now, now, of course, you can let them go, but a lot of the times what I recommend is use AI in your business to enhance human capabilities. That's what it's designed for. It's not designed to replace people and take their jobs. What it's designed to do is to enhance their capabilities, and the things that they shouldn't be spending their time on, you can go and move them into something that is, requires a real human being. Because at the end of the day, you want humans working for you who care about your business, your mission, your vision, all of those things, and who want to solve problems. But if they don't have time to solve problems because they're doing tasks like texting leads back and forth all day, it's gonna be a problem, right? So that's where AI is really, really helping. That's where Property Bots really helps in the for real estate professionals and stuff. Anyone in the high transaction business and sales business, but you get a Property Bot working for you and you're getting an extra 25,000 a month. I mean, shoot, that's math in public here. That's what is that? $275,000 a year in your pocket.
So when people wanted to scale business, like you mentioned in the past, the main goal, I remember people, and I have people here in the podcast say, I'm going to have the calling center, the calling center. So I'm going to hire people from VAs from Philippines or from South America. And then they say, forget it. I don't want to overpay them. This is going to be like, I don't know, 2,000 or whatever it is a month. So I'm going to create my own call center. So people go to, and I know people myself, they go to Venezuela, to Salvador, and you just get a place and put like 20 people, 30 people working there. And it's still high expense of time, of resources, and then money, obviously, and time, because you need to manage those people. So now with this, what you mentioned, so the idea is not to replace them, just try to enhance them, but you can just be able to scale a lot faster and sooner, and with a less overhead, because it's going to be a lot less expensive. Obviously, it has a cost because it's a brand new technology, but also the management piece is not as bad. I remember people telling me, like, for example, in Venezuela, the issue is that people go without power for like 24 hours. I think the Philippines the same thing. So I don't know where people lose power. So you have your operation, power, and then you have hours, and then you have time zone limitations. So so they only work from like 8 a.m. to like 5 p.m. on their time. Meantime here, like midnight. So that might not work. So you kind of solve all those problems with that. I mean, both the bad, but you do it, you presented it. So I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. The time I always like to say, bots don't take bathroom breaks, right? And I didn't make that up. Bryce Decora, one of the guys that I follow, kind of invented that, but they don't. But they don't take vacation, they don't take sick days, they don't take bathroom breaks. They can have 1,800 conversations at the same time, simultaneously. They're constantly learning with the technology how it works. It works off of what's called a large language model, like an LLM is kind of what it's called. So if you've heard of ChatGPT is OpenAI's large language model. Claude is Anthropic's large language model. Gemini is Google's large language model. They're different models, and what they do is they're constantly learning based on what's happening on the internet. Consider your large language model a friend who has read 200 million books. Would you want that friend working for you? Yes or no?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And is able to have 1,800 conversations at the same time. Yeah, you would want that. So that's really, kind of, and each one of these has its own idiosyncrasies. Some are better conversationally, some are better for this, some are better for that. It's how they're built. So, if there is a limiting factor to this technology, it is the large language models. But because of the that so many large corporations now rely on this,
Mm.
and OpenAI is such a massive company. These AI companies are so massive; they're in a position where they can't fail.
Yeah. Quick question: regulations. I remember having a conversation with someone, not in depth like we're having right now, and they say, "Oh, we have to disclose that this is not a person doing the conversation." Is that happening right now? And you see what happened with Airbnb? The government got involved in business, and that's not ideal. But sometimes, like the customer protection services and all those things, I remember people getting sued because of the wholesaling. That they said they was misrepresented. They didn't understand the process. They should get a lot more money. And then we live in a litigious country. So how is that playing a role within the AI right now, and how you see that evolving?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and this is a thing that I tell from marketing. So, let's see where to start with this. So, when you collect information, so the good news is that in America, the rules are way less strict than they are in the EU. If you're in the EU, it's much more strict rules on how you can collect information and how you have to notify people, all this stuff. But I will say that those rules are becoming more popular in the US. And just is what it is, right? But when you collect someone's information, whether it's their phone number or email or anything, you have to make sure, whether it's a form or whatever, you have to make sure that there's a checkbox on that form that says that, hey, by providing my information, I consent to getting text messages or emails from 123 Main Street LLC. Text message rates and data, may vary. And I always put in my things too that they may be AI generated as well.
Okay.
So I notify people, they check the box, they have to opt in, right,
Okay.
to get that information. Now, what's going to happen in the future with regulation? Obviously, none of us have a crystal ball here. I can definitely see outbound, like voice AI right now, it's kind of just handling inbound calls. So when someone calls you,
Okay.
the voice AI can take over, the call center thing can take over. But kind of one of my fears with AI is when scammers start using it to scam grandma out of her money on an outbound call, and they pretend to be their grandson or something, because they're doing that right now without the AI. But it could be very, very dangerous. So I do suspect that government regulation will somehow take effect in the next 3 to 5 years on what you can do as far as outbound. What they have done is that the government has put the phone carriers in charge of regulation.
Okay.
So if you're a marketer, you'll speak this language. It's called A2P 10 DLC. So like A, the number 2P dash 10 DLC. Don't ask me what it stands for. I don't remember. But what that is it's regulations from the phone carriers. So Verizon and T-Mobile and whatever, AT&T. And if you are going to text someone an outbound text message, there's rules that you have to follow. Number one, you have to get certified. So and I have to educate a lot of our clients on this in the bot world as well, but you have to have a privacy policy on your website that states everything that you're doing. You have to have a terms of service on your website. You have to make sure people opt in and check the box on the form that you're gathering people. You have to, when you first text message someone, you have to say reply stop to unsubscribe. So you have to give them the option that if they don't want to hear you, and if they do stop, you have to not text them. If the carrier realizes that you're texting them after they say stop, they'll ban you. They'll block your number. Or if you're using specific language in your text messages, you'll get blocked as well. So like in the flipping business, for example, or the wholesaling business, you can't go in your text message, you can't go and say like cash offer or fast cash or something like that, because the carrier is just going to block it. 90% of the time, they're going to be like, yeah, I don't know about this. And it just auto blocks. So what I've done with property bots is I've trained and coded property bots to go and say, avoid using these words. Do not use these words. And sometimes it's comical. Sometimes it'll say like, instead of cash offer, it'll say like, are you ready for your speedy, I don't know, like your speedy offer or something like that, or something creative. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I get that. People understand what you're trying to say, and the message is going through. Number one rule in marketing is someone has to get your message to understand your message. So deliverability is huge. So you got to kind of be creative. And yeah, I think the government, they're going to figure it out eventually. Right now, it's kind of like the Wild West. So we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, because like people like yourself, they're using it for the right thing. Using to try to hopefully educate people, be able to provide service, increase sales, and be able to just keep moving the economy. There are people that use it for the bad stuff. Like, I don't know if you saw a movie called Beekeeper. With so the guy is exactly that. Someone like was calling lady, said, you know what, you have a virus on your computer, and she's, oh, I'm sorry about that. And oh, how can I fix it? Don't worry, just get to this link, go here, and we're gonna help you clean the virus, by the virus for your computer. When they did that, they got access to the bank account, and they took all the money, and she ended up killing herself. And then there was a whole movie about that. So that's happening right now. People just using and abusing the technology. Okay, so that's great. So how do you see, so 5 years from now, best case scenario, where do you see yourself moving forward in terms of real estate and the AI?
Yeah. So, I mean,
I'm sure you've done this exercise already.
Well, we just did Tony Robbins. No. And yeah, for us, for property bots is a new venture for me, and it's something I'm really excited about. It's getting a lot of traction and all of that. And really where I see us in helping folks is getting more on the commercial side of the business, and something I love working with, and I've done B2C sales. So, right to customer, direct to customer. I love B2B, because B2B, you can have so much more influence over a company and their mission and what they're trying to do, and really help them out. So I see us growing into a bunch of different verticals. Number one, we're still going to be helping out our wholesalers and our flippers and kind of, those, not small businesses, but smaller businesses. I see us really working with large real estate brokerages, and helping them integrate AI and implement AI solutions into their business. But then the commercial property managers on the front end, on helping them, they get someone opt into their website or something and just have instant follow-up, book an appointment to view the apartment complex, or send them whatever, like all these custom solutions, custom to their business, where the AI is trained on their business, knowing exactly, what they would know if they were an employee, probably more than an employee would know, and making that happen, and then scaling potentially into kind of working like you're talking about, providing a large solution for call centers that are doing this. And I think, like I said in the beginning of this, AI is not going to replace jobs as much as it is going to enhance jobs. So in that example you had of call centers in Venezuela, or call centers in Colombia, or the Philippines, your AI bots are going to be doing the work, but the people are then going to be trained in AI, and they're going to be monitoring those conversations, and they're going to be kind of like the back end managers. Like if someone's like, let me speak to your manager, oh, there's a real human here, kind of a thing. But honestly, the application for AI in business is just incredible. And I think in the very, very near future, anytime you're working with any larger corporation on customer service, whether it's your credit card company, your bank, your this, your that, you will be talking to a bot. You might not know that you're talking to a bot, but you will be.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're gonna make the process more faster. Sometimes
way faster.
You have to wait for a long time. And I remember, and I love that you mentioned that, when I was in middle school back in Colombia, it's called different. It's not middle school, but I remember the teacher everybody said, you know what, the robots are going to take over the world. Is going to be bad. You see movies and the politics, obviously, but not getting into politics. They love to put fear into people. And I'm almost 50, and no, I mean, still, yes, we have technology, and we have a lot more able to do so many other stuff. We have like cell phones and everything. I think we have technology right now that people 30 years ago that will only dream about it, and they will still need humans to be able to run that. And people just move around. They have different professions. Like you see those cars that be driving by themselves. I mean, that a lot of people that be driving their cars, they have to be willing and able to learn something like another trade, to do something else. But it's always going to be opportunity for the humans. If they decide to, obviously, a lot other people will decide to, this is the end of the world. I'm not gonna move forward, and then that's the people that are gonna be having a hard time adjusting, I guess.
Yeah. There always will be, and that's just how it works. And I think when we were listening to Jeff Woods speak about this, the thing that like a ton of bricks, my light bulb moment from that was, he had said when he would graduate at Stanford or wherever he had graduated, part of his story, and you can read his book. It's a fantastic book, AI Driven Leader. Highly recommend it. Probably put it in the show notes.
Sure.
But really, really great book. Shout out to Jeff. But he had said he went to like the CEO of Google or whoever he was interning with, and said, like, asked him, what job should I get next? And the guy said, you're asking the wrong question, Jeff. the question you should ask yourself, and this is for all your listeners out there and watchers on YouTube, what skills do I need to be developing to create the biggest impact on the future, in my future? And right now, AI is the skill you need to be developing. I mean, it's you can bury your head in the sand and then 15 years from now be like, dang, I should have bought Bitcoin. Or you can just learn about it now. It's not hard, but it's gonna just learn about it. And there's so many resources about it right now, that it didn't take long. And as long as, like anything, you learn and you practice and you run through iterations, you'll learn how to use it. And one thing that I took from Jeff also is I have a little sticky note on my computer and it says, how will AI help me do this? And I can't tell you how often I look at my monitor and I'm like thinking about deep work, thinking about a problem. It could be in sales, could be in this, could be in that. And I look down and I'm like, you know what? Let's go to ChatGPT, write a quick prompt, boom, done. I mean, my entire business plan for property bots. I used to spend weeks building a business plan presentation. I did a prompt in an hour. I had a full business plan. I had to interview me, ask me the questions, how I want to do this, how much, and then I did the whole thing with the offer and everything. And I just started getting clients. And it was all because instead of, it goes back to my thing, speed of implementation.
Sure.
Instead of figuring out, oh, how do I do this? Oh, I got to do this. No, you just got to, hire the guy who has read 200 million books. And oh, by the way, he costs $20 a month. So
yeah, and he goes back to the book. I think it was Benjamin Hardy on Who Know How.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the who.
This is the who. Yeah, this is the who. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And instead of learning the how. Okay, so we can be the whole day talking about this. This is obviously you talk about two things I really love, which is real estate and technology. I mean, that's great. But I want to respect your time, and this is a part of the show that we want to get to know more the person itself. So what do you do with the hobbies when you are not learning and implement and do the fastest application that you do, when you are not looking for deals in real estate? What are your hobbies that you like to do? I know you said before you like to travel, but besides that, what do you like to do?
Yeah, so we do a fair amount of travel. We like to go to Europe. We one of our dreams is to own a flat in Paris.
Okay.
And just be able to spend part of the year there and really enjoy. My wife and I really enjoy that city, so that's fun. I play a lot of sports. I play a lot of volleyball. I play a lot of pickleball. I like to stay fit.
You play pickleball? We have to play pickleball.
Oh yeah, pickleball. Yeah, gotta get on the pickleball thing. I've been doing that since COVID, playing pickleball, and I really enjoy that. And I'm in the men's soccer league here and in Charlotte, which is a lot of fun, very competitive, like the 11 on 11, soccer. So I get into that, and I just like hanging out with friends. We play board games, all this stuff. My wife and I don't have kids yet, so it's like we're working on that too. But it's like I enjoy having fun and just staying active. I think is really what I like doing.
Very nice. Recommend me a book. Besides obviously the regular ones, the Rich Man of Babylon and the Rich Dad Poor Dad. And a book that you would recommend me.
Well, we already talked about Jeff Woods' book. That's
the
AI driven leader. That's just absolutely fantastic. I just finished one that I thought was good. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. If you're working on a team environment, really, really good book. It's I can never say the guy. He's written a bunch of books, but it's like Leccioni is the guy who wrote it, and he's written Patrick Leccioni. I think I'm saying his name right or wrong, but he's written a bunch of other books. But it's very conversational reading, super easy read, and it's like and it's all about how to build the best team. So if you're on a leadership team and an executive team, that's a good book. Or if you're trying to build a team in the future for your business, it's a good book to figure out who do I hire and all of that to get that right, kind of that gel going. And that was good. I mean that's a good one. Anything from Dr. Ben Hardy.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. His books are amazing. And yeah, another one that I love, if you're into marketing, can't remember the author right now, but it's just called Known, like KNOWN, Known. And it is a fantastic book on just how to build yourself a brand. And it's just really, really neat. So big fan of that one.
Very nice. I'm going to follow those. Look into it. Recommend me a movie and a series.
Like a movie and a series. Oh man.
If you watch any
Well, I just saw Gladiator 2. It was okay. Man, I don't know. Movies, yeah. I'll tell you what. I've my guilty pleasure right now is watching Lost. Remember that show from like 2003 or whatever?
Yeah.
And I remember when I was, not to age myself, but like back then I was like in high school or something. Yeah, I was or middle school or high school, and my parents wouldn't let me watch it. So come on, too late and whatever. And
now you can do whatever you want.
Now I can do whatever I want. It's on Netflix.
Anytime.
Yeah, anytime, Mom. Take that. But no, I've been watching it. My wife hates it because she's like, it's so stupid. It's science fiction. And I was like, I know, but it's so cool. So yeah, I've been burning through that.
Pretty cool. So what are your differentiator? How come you can do all of those things? How come you went to the army, you're doing marketing, you do education, real estate, now AI? So many people have been exposed to the same situation that you have been exposed to, and they haven't been able to do all of the things that you're doing because they choose not to do it, or because they can't do it. In your case, what is that it? What is it you have that others might not?
Well, it's not anything special. Because like you alluded to already, and I'm sure your listeners and have heard this before, every human being, from me to you to Elon Musk to the president to whoever you look up to or whatever, they all have the same 24 hours in a day. That's just a fact. Time is our ultimate and most precious resource. So, for me, like I talked about earlier, my big thing is speed of implementation. I will fail. And that's okay. I'm fine with failing. I'm going to fail forward. I'm going to learn from those mistakes, and I'm going to build something better with more and more iterations. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned is just don't be afraid to get started. Most people let fear rule their lives. So if you can come over that and say, hey, I'm doing this not to make money. I'm doing this do this to make an impact bigger than yourself, and just do it. And like I said earlier, build something, let the market tell you if it's good, bad, and ugly, whatever. Just start. Just put something out there, and you'll be very, very surprised at where it goes and what happens and what opportunities open up. I mean, you and I probably wouldn't be talking if I didn't have something interesting to share. If I was just like, oh yeah, I bought another rental property, you'd be like, cool, neato. But like, that's kind of my philosophy on life is just take action, and constantly learning, constantly be networking. Take action and just see what life has for you. See what God has, what God's plan is for you.
Amazing, love that. When can people follow about more? And when can people learn more about you? When they can follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is the part where I'm supposed to drop all my social media stuff, and I'm just awful at it. I mean, I'm just terrible. So, the best thing,
AI for Kevin Brenner.
Yeah. You can Google me, I guess. You're right. No, but honestly, if you guys want to learn about AI and actually do it, so I have a live demo on my website. It's really, really cool. You can sign up for it, and it will learn whatever business you're in. You can be, a roofer, you can be a plumber, you can be a real estate investor, you can be anything. You can try it. It's totally free to try. And you just sign up on my website. It's https://propertybots.ai/demo. And that'll be linked down here, but just click that link, and you can go and just, fill out a little information, and you can try the bot. It's going to text you. It's going to learn about your business, and it's going to try to book you on a fake appointment, but just to show you kind of how it works. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's Investor Kev, one word, Investor Kev. And then LinkedIn is kind of really where I'm making my presence now. With this new kind of shift in this B2B shift that I'm having. Sure. That's where kind of people hang out and stuff. So actually the other day I went and updated my LinkedIn profile. I hadn't done that in like 4 years. I had like 4,000 connections that I've just been avoiding. Yeah. But I mean, that's probably the best place to just get in touch with me. And I definitely encourage, check out Property Bots. It's just a lot of fun. Even if you don't even have a business, you just want to see how AI works. It's kind of cool.
It sounds like it. Bro, thank you for being here. I love it. It was an amazing program. I love all the information that you share. You've been so kind with us, sharing all your experience. God bless you, and looking forward to have you again.
Of course. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
And to all of you, thank you for being with us again. We wanna invite you to be in our next show. We always live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. God bless you all. Have an amazing week.
Boom.